Hey guys, welcome back again. I'm going to be looking today at the characters. Before we start though, I just want to raise a few things. First off, in the unboxing I talked about having almost like a DIY toolbox. Very, very useful for this game, trust me, because again, I don't want to go all over the place, but you know, there are lots and lots of different counters for status effects, for money and for abilities. I think it's better to get the ones with the variable dividers, and then you can make you can make sections that are just for random bits and pieces and for hero specific items, and then the ones that you use more frequently at the front, your health. But I don't want to go into counters too much today. I'm going to talk about those more next time. But as you can see, I've started to unpack everything and get everything ready to play. And I'm going to look, here are the 5 characters that come in the box. So we have Xantares. I'm going to lean forward with each one. At the end, I'm going to move the camera and show you close up the character sheet ready for a game. But yeah, we have Xantares, Robin, Artemis. I'll show you. Robin. We'll come into each one separately, very, very briefly, in a short while. Artemis, Thorgren, and Jeanne, I guess. They are the 5 core characters. I'm also today going to be talking about Mist, who is the Kickstarter exclusive character, and I managed to get the Sigurd and Sigrid box set as well. So they come, from what I can tell, they seem to act very, very similar to each other. So how do the characters work? Well, each character has 2 variants, and that's mainly because of the alignment system inside the game. You have lawful, neutral, and we have chaos, almost like a Dungeons and Dragons game. And they recommend that if you are running a party for there to be some cohesion, to align lawful and neutral, and to align neutral and evil, but to avoid running lawful and evil. So as a result, every character has at least has 2 variants with at least an option to be able to play that character with the others. So you can see on the card, again, I'm gonna come super close. You can see on the card we have an alignment feature, which can either be, for this version, we can see we have the chaos, and this one, the 2 wings, is the lawful variety. So they act very, very differently for spells and abilities, as we're going to find out soon. But and they also have their own unique abilities as well. They don't have the same core abilities on each card. Important things to pay attention to is they actually give a trait for cards, which is more important in this edition. A lot more abilities, cards, items can only be used by specific classes, I've noticed so far. And at the top we have the weapon types they can use, so M obviously for mage. So these are both forms will be mages. One of the most unique and special things about Sword and Sorcery is the XP wheel. So the character will level up as your game progresses, the idea being that they're brought back from the dead, they are weakened, they have a soul point, and as you gain experience, you gain more power in the games. You can use the experience, the soul points, to level up your character, and then we just turn the wheel. So this is the level 1 version of the character, and then I can just spin the character wheel, and then all of a sudden I have new stats. And each stat corresponds on the side to a feature. So the hit points, we have hit points of a character, we have how many attack actions it can have, the red fist, we have how many skills, traits, talents it has up here, and then we also have the yellow, which are generic action points that they can use. So each turn you can use each of these. You can move the amount that you move, you can use actions up until the point that you have actions, and the traits obviously going to have more characters' abilities that you can use each turn. The second thing that's quite cool about the game is the cooldown system. So the spells and abilities and traits that your character has will have listed on each card what level your character has to be to use them. And obviously if you're higher level, you can choose to drop down and use the lower level ones. And also on this side is the cooldown, how long it's going to take each cooldown. So this one takes 1, 2, or 3 turns to cool down depending on the level you do. And how that's going to work is you cast the ability, and then when you cast the ability, you're going to turn it over, and then you're going to choose the corresponding time marker. So if it's just one action, it corresponds this. At the end of the turn, you're going to have the refresh phase, so it just turns back over and you have access to it. If you choose to do it on the 2 or the 3 power at the end of each game turn, then you're just going to rotate it, and then it's going to come back. So the more powerful the spell you use, the longer it's down on cooldown. So, but obviously the higher level you are, the more abilities you have. So it's kind of managing your turns and your abilities, especially for things like your mages. So very quickly through, we have our Xantares. Xantares, the first one is an illusionist, and you have the option to be illusionist or a wild mage, depending on whether you want to be good or evil aligned. The card sets mainly include a variety of spells to do with bringing up illusions on the battlefield, which might be construed as allies, so that the AI, the AI will end up hitting the illusions instead of your players. Also, it has some mind things in here, confusion. You can make the monsters attack each other, and as with any mage, high-powered area damage effect for dealing with minions. So pretty cool. Has its own special card for illusions for when you summon your illusions. Then we have Robin here. Robin is a thief or alchemist. Both card options for Robin are neutral, so it doesn't matter. You can choose to play with either version of Robin. The only difference is this Robin here is the thief, and he has the dexterous symbol here, so that means he's only able to equip dexterity-based items. Whereas this Robin over here, the alchemist, is considered both dexterity-based and mage-based. So this one is going to be able to equip more, but they're also going to have different abilities. Their abilities again have time markers on. I'm not going to go through those today, but you can have like purple, which are passives, they're always on. You can have white markers there that I'm pointing to, they're like free actions, or you also have the red 3 triangles, which corresponds again to your soul rank card, which is going to indicate that it's an action. So handily enough, there's a lot of markers, there's a lot of icons on cards. You kind of pick it up pretty quickly, and you kind of see how everything goes, and it's well marked on everything. So you can kind of see, you know, I have my movement action, I have my action, I have my fighty action, and there's certain rules about things like you can't do a fighty action midway through, but if you do an action, then you know you can do that midway through walking. So the rulebook is intense. I've given it a first read through. I'm going to read through it again, ready for a run down this weekend. For those of you who don't know, it's an entire co-op game, so the board runs itself. I'm going to go through that in the next video. So yeah, I'm going to be playing with them, and we'll hopefully guide each other through securing our way through the dungeon in the first episode very soon. He seems to be trap-based, the thief version, so good, especially because there's a lot of traps in this game. Or the alchemist for creating and producing potions, handy for a group. His abilities, like I say, I mean, they're all neutral, so pretty much he can use all of them. How it gets around this is some of them say can only be used by the alchemist, and obviously then the thief doesn't have the alchemist trait, so it can't use the alchemist abilities. So there are some in here that he can't use. Remember how I said each character you get a starting amount of talents or abilities, so you know, if you're a mage you tend to get more, you might have 2 or 3 that you can choose to start with. The talents, you can't choose all of them because they do have soul levels on them, corresponding powers. So like this one is 1 and 5, so I could get this as a starting character and I could use its level 1 ability. But if I say use this ability here, soul rank 3, and I get this isn't going to be useful for a long time. So I'm you know, when I'm starting the character, I can almost cut out half of these, and I only have a handful left. Next up we have Artemis. Artemis options are the scout and the hunter, no surprises, you can see the bow and arrow and the daggers. So we're talking about fast movement, we're talking about lots of bow attacks, special abilities to do that. Also, Artemis has the ability to summon Dharma here, which is the trusty hound, I think, wolf of some kind. So you can summon Dharma, attaches to a character. We can connect the two together as we're going through, and you can kind of use Artemis's ability once you have the ability to summon the companion. You can use her abilities to activate the wolf instead of herself, or both. You can move her, then you can use it's either her action or her attack action to activate the summons. So Artemis, good long range abilities and a little bit of almost controlling the monster, which is interesting because Xantares is controlling the illusions. So you're going to be and confusing enemies to each other. You've also got Artemis there with the summons, and we're going to come to there's another sort of way of having companions in this, which I'll cover in a second. The next one, pretty much, I imagine most parties are going to, well, maybe potentially depending on your group, your gladiator, your tank and shield. So Thorgren can be the gladiator or the stone ranger, probably slightly more berserky if you need some DPS. So I mean, there's not going to be a lot to say to there. A lot of his abilities similar to the warrior priest, the tanky character in the last one. We're going to be looking at, it wasn't a warrior priest, it was the dwarf with the shield in the last one. So it's similar about using rages or using additional attacks, getting lethal attacks, causing more damage that's unavoidable. Next up we have Jeanne or Jeanne here. I mean, you can clearly see from the miniature we're looking at well armored with a light shield and Morning Star, and that is our warrior priest. That's our healer, almost cleric warrior priest. I think you can choose which way you want to go about it on your build again, whether you want to go slightly more healy. There are the cards and the options to be the healy or also support with some damage, which is good. And then we have our Kickstarter exclusive, Mist. Mist has the options to be a Necro Warrior or a Death Guardian. Also seems to be dealing with, if you take the Necro Warrior, can summon dead monsters and use them to fight just for one turn and then they disappear. So seems to be a little bit of a pick and mix really. I've noticed that with quite a few of these, there seems to be more variety in how you can build a character. There's not really just one or two ways. There seems to be 3 or 4 for a lot of the characters now, which is interesting. And Mist's abilities, again, spawning monsters, you use like a spirit power and then you can discard the spirit power to spawn more enemies, controlling a little bit, resurrecting. So seems to be interesting character option. Sigurd and Sigrid, from what I can see so far looking through their ability decks, seem to work very, very similar, and we're talking, I almost think like a Thor, I guess. We're talking about hammers, and they kind of use those hammers to do a lot of things. Again, from looking through their decks, I was a little bit surprised that I couldn't really spot a massively overrunning theme with these. They seem to be pretty much do what you want. There was DPS card options for throwing the hammer, there was heal options with throwing the hammer to heal allies, there was control options for moving and for avoiding hindrances for speed. So yeah, a little bit of everything there. You can kind of customize those characters to work however you want. I think 2 of those together in your group could be quite tasty, because I'll be a bit boring unless you build them different ways, I suspect. So also new to this expansion is these traits that you get, and they give you 1 for every single card, every character in the game. There's only 1. You get it no matter for which variant you use. It just gives you some extra abilities. So let's say we go for the Ranger Artemis, gains 3 abilities. I'm not going to do it for all characters, but just for an example, we get passive ability, during the night it affects you. Another passive ability, you are weaker in the sun. And a free turn option, a free action to lesser levitation, to do with there's flying mechanics in here to help you avoid hindrances. So it seems they've added these for every single character, just to add a little bit more to each one, which is good. You know, I kind of like that customization and personalization to the character builds. So also new to this expansion, we have these are companion mercenaries, which you now have the option to purchase. So we have a companion mercenary mage and a companion mercenary rogue. So you can use these, you can buy them pretty much for your party, and how they work is during the party turn they can be triggered and activated by once per round. We'll go into the rounds in the next video, but one person from the team can choose to activate, but each turn a different person can choose to use their action to activate it. So you kind of have some extra options for the party to use, and if somebody's got nothing to do that turn, or they're out of combat, or they're trying not to attract attention by being hidden, for example, then you have the option to use your action to trigger the mercenaries. I'm not sure how good they are. Again, I'll give it a shot in some game and see, but it's nice, and they even give you the miniatures, so we're not just using some